And to what's going on when we speak of the awliyaullah. So a wali of Allah. Well, every believer is a wali of Allah, because Allah is the wali of the mu'minun, as Allah mentions in the Quran. That means that people of Iman, people of Islam, people of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, these are people who are in this relationship with Allah, that Allah has expanded their breasts, their sudur, towards Islam, and has placed within them nur, light. And so that makes you a person whom Allah has given tawajjuh towards. He's focused His attention on you in a unique way. It also means that you have responded back to Allah. You've responded back to Him. The opportunities are there for any person as long as they've been exposed to proper knowledge of Islam. Because first there has to come, unless Allah guides you towards Him, as I've met people in my life over the years, I met people who are non-Muslims, who've had dreams of the Prophet ﷺ, or or companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Oftentimes from awliyaullah, they've experienced maybe a dream with Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, or other people, and there was an indication, an isharat, an indication in that dream that they should become Muslim. But generally those are more exceptions than the rule. The normal course of events is that one has to engage in some way intellectually, with your aql, with your intellect, that something will present itself to you by the tawfiq of Allah, by the, how can I say, the steering of events by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to engage your intellect, that you then you become focused in some way that you can accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've recently been reading some works by Imam Sha'rani, who was a very well-known 16th century scholar from Egypt. And he wrote many works defending Ibn Arabi, one of the great metaphysicians, one of the great awliyaullah of the Ummah, and whom I'm sure you've heard of him. And in this book, one of the books by Sha'rani, may Allah bless him, he's writing about the Aqidah, the beliefs of Ibn Arabi. And one of the things that he's written about, and I've been translating it, is the fact that the Anbiya did not come into the world, the prophets did not come into the world to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They came because this is something fitral, this is something in your nature, to be disposed and inclined towards Allah. But what prophets do is that prophets give you clarification. They give you a bayan. They give you a furqan. They give you a sharh. They give you something wadih, clear, by which then you can understand what Allah is. And you can have i'tiqad. You can fasten your intellect to the nature of God as God is. And that's premised upon your natural fitral, your innate nature to be disposed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then come to Him. So, alhamdulillah, we're very blessed, each of us in this room, whether it was from your mother's breast that you were a Muslim, or you, as some of us in this room have, in later years of our life, we were exposed to something, and Allah used that as a mechanism and a means by which we would intellectually accept and agree with Muhammad ﷺ's revelation. Imam Ghazali, one of the great awliyaullah, one of the great mujaddids, renovators of the deen, clearly I think the ummah is a consensus on the status of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, that I was going with a thought on that one about Imam Ghazali. Sorry, I lost my thought. What did I say this before then? See? I was thinking. After that, what did I say? See, I lost my thought. Okay, I'll get back to Ghazali. I'm sure it's something important I was going to say about him. But it slipped my mind. Anyway, I'll come to it. That's how it is. You know, my mind is all scattered. It's like this flower in front of me. If I throw it in the air, it'll be like that. All this sort of kudurat, these particles everywhere. The awliyaullah, which I want to get to, are what we all are in this room. We are all part of the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, and because of his wilayat, and I mean by wilayat, I mean his proximity, his nearness. So one thing you should understand about a wali, before you start thinking about karamat, or he's a person who Allah accepts his dua, or he's a person who's going to make shafa for you, that Allah will accepts his prayers, his supplications, his free supplications, or he's going to make intercession for you, is to understand the only reason that a dua is accepted, as all believers' duas are accepted, but they may not be accepted immediately, or that this person is in such a relationship with Allah is because he has this nearness, this qurba. And so wilayat, in a sense of Allah as protector and defender and intimate with that person, is because that person has drawn a relationship with the wilayat, that is the proximity, the nearness that Muhammad ﷺ had with Allah and has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No wali of Allah has his status except that it's a issue of mirath or inheritance, and an issue of ittiba, of following, and the issue of tataful. Tataful, we get the word tataful in Arabic, like child. And I would say tataful is this: it's the suckling and nurturing yourself. The suckling and the nurturing of yourself. Just as a baby, a child, an infant in its formative years or months after birth must suckle from its mother's breast. And the best milk for a child or for an infant is its own mother's milk. Every person in the Ummah must suckle from the spiritual milk of Muhammad ﷺ. You must drink of that. And so those people who nurture themselves, just as Muhammad ﷺ was offered pure wine and pure milk on the night of Ascension, but he drank pure milk, not the pure wine of Jannah. And he said, as Jibril said, your ummah, because you drank that, are the people of fitrah. They drink of something natural that is part and parcel of our own being, which is something inherent in prophethood. And we take that. And so any person who's a wali of Allah, that includes all of us in this room, and then those who continue to drink more and more, and to nurture themselves from Muhammad ﷺ, they get closer to him and closer to him. And his nearness to Allah, his wilayat in relation to Allah, his proximity to Allah is what gives these people, whom we call the awliyaullah, when we speak of them in special language, their status. So the first thing is, be grateful for your own wilayat, your own state of nearness to Allah. But don't be content with your status, with your current placement, your current maqam, your current martaba in life, your current station in life. But you must always strive and desire for that which is always elusively beyond and beyond and beyond, which is the true nature of Allah. You'll never get near to Allah to a place where you've arrived, except that where you arrive at, you'll find that where you arrived at, there's more beyond that. It's open-ended. So I have something up here. I have some props up here. No, the women can't see my props, I don't think. I don't know if they can. Perhaps this house has a video. There's a cat, there's a video up there. So maybe you all, but you need to see the props. So I think sometimes in order to understand these concepts, particularly of the importance of the awliyaullah, I can use some props to do that. So what I have is two mirrors, some flour, and some Pam original non-stick spray. I'm going to spray this mirror like that, you see. This is your heart. This is your heart. And this is the dunya. It just gets all that stuff on it, that heart. Like baking a cake. This is prophetic light. The light of Iman. Well, some people don't get much light because their hearts are dusty, And the Prophet talks about hearts that get rusted, right? They get rusted. And there's certain things that remove. So if your heart's like that, the divine light has a hard time of being reflected there. The heart of prophets. It's something like a disco light, isn't it? Cool. The heart of prophets are absolutely pure mirrors. They're really clean mirrors. Not clean by Windex and tissues. They're clean by when Jibreel al-Islam comes and opens the blessed chest of Muhammad and washes his heart with what? Zamzam water and snow. Those are symbolic washings. They're indications. Like the Kaaba is a symbol of a paradise, of a building in paradise. Allah manifests these physical things that the Ummah can know about, in order to understand higher spiritual realities taking place. So Muhammad ﷺ is this perfect mirror. And in the mirror of Muhammad ﷺ is a manifestation of divine beauty. The Jamal Ilahi, the divine beauty, is manifested. So Muhammad ﷺ, from one perspective, has been created to be a mirror. But he exists in the Ummah, and so people can get that. The Sahaba were like that. They all got light from Muhammad ﷺ, from his blessed mirroring heart. And he passed it on. What we have, though, in our time, or since for many generations, we have hearts like this. So the Prophet ﷺ tells us, all of us, to people of his Ummah, your hearts become rusted. And the polish of the heart consists of recitation of the Quran. You start reading Quran, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, not like Naeem. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. You start washing. You start wiping with the Quran. And you start saying, or with dhikr, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You start cleaning that heart up. Keep doing that. Or thirdly, you remember death. I'm going to die one day. You know, life is short. If the son of Adam was given a valley of gold, he would desire a second valley of gold. The only thing that will satisfy the son of Adam is the dirt of his grave that fills his mouth. Muhammad taught us that. So you keep working on yourself with dhikr. So Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani for 25 years was out there away from Baghdad, working on himself, reflecting on himself, doing reflection, muraqabah, tafakkur, reflection, doing dhikr, making mujadala, and putting effort with his own life. And he was working and 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 working. And Bayazid Bastami was doing that too, and Saud Tustari was doing that too, and Muhammad Bahadin Shah-Naqshband was doing that too, and Imam Rabbani, Ahmad Suhaini was doing that until he got hearts like that. Hearts like that. So then, you want to hold that for me? You hold that. The divine light becomes reflected into this beautiful heart of Muhammad ﷺ, and through this chain of mirroring, light gets reflected up on Naeem's face. But you got to think about two mirrors, but mirror upon mirror upon mirror over generations. And those mirrors are the hearts of the awliyaullah. That's why you need to have an awliyaullah in your friend, on your BlackBerry.
Subhanallah.
You know, give them number 1 on your rapid dial, whatever it's called, because you need those people in your heart, because that's their function. Their function is to take the divine tajaliyat, the divine outpourings that are poured into Muhammad ﷺ, and then reflected into his ummah. Like he said about Sayyidina Abu Bakr. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, we are taught that his iman outweighed the whole ummah's iman. We can't even comprehend that. How could one man's iman outweigh Starting from Sayyidina Umar, to Sayyidina Uthman, to Sayyidina Ali, to Sayyidina Fatima, to Sayyidina Aisha, to Sayyidina Hussein, to Sayyidina Hassan before Hussein, to Sayyidina Bilal, let alone Sayyidina Abdul Qadir, Quddasa Sirruhu, or Sayyidina Bayazid Bastami, Quddasa Sirruhu, or Sayyidina Ahmed al-Rafai, Quddasa Sirruhu, or Sayyidina Hassan Ashadli, Quddasa Sirruhu, or Sayyidina Muhammad Ali Shah Naqshband, Quddasa Sirruhu, or Sayyidina Pir Falan Falan, maybe you're Sheikh in Pakistan or in India. You take all their iman, will never outweigh the iman of Sayyidina Abu Bakr. And yet, why was it? Why was it that way? The Prophet said it wasn't something that because he said Sayyidina Abu Bakr did, was extra prayers or extra fasting. He said it was something, istaqarra fi qalbihi. It was something that was settled in his heart. His heart. Even before Muhammad ﷺ was a prophet, before his Nabuwah, he knew his friend Muhammad ﷺ would be a great man. He knew this man, his friend, would be that way. And when Muhammad ﷺ brought his message to his friend Sayyidina Abu Bakr, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr said, "It's this which I've been waiting for." And he just believed him. And he received, bam, all that. Why am I saying this? Because the hearts are so important. And so, the awliyaullah are just people like us who just took things rather seriously. They took the reality, and it's like it works. It's like a feedback system. And I explained this to a talk the other day. We have all our issues of life. The flower of the dunya, so to say. And our hearts have sticky spam or Pam all over it. And we get all these little things that get onto our hearts. We don't have to do that. We choose that many times. We make our choices what we put on ourselves. We open up every window. If you don't want flies in your house, then don't open the doors and windows all day long. If you don't want scorpions in your house, make sure you seal the floorboards and the areas around it. If you don't want a wolf to eat your sheep, keep them in a pen. If you don't want a rabbit to eat your cabbage in the garden, put a rabbit-proof fence around it. And if you don't do these things, don't be surprised if you don't have cabbage, if your sheep disappear, if flies infest your home, and scorpions sting you at night. Because you've done everything that you shouldn't have done. And the awliyaullah, and the people like Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani Quddasa Sirruhu, when they start speaking, their job is because they've realized something. They've realized that the dunya was a place of ghurur, deception. They understood that Allah's warnings about these things are real. And they personally chose in their lives to take it seriously and to excel. They understood, if I want to get the reflections of Muhammad ﷺ, I better make sure that my mirror that can receive the reflections had better be high quality. If you want to see a distant galaxy, you can't just go to Costco and buy a $55 telescope. Yes, it has a reflecting mirror in it. You might want to get one made at University of Arizona in Tucson underneath their quad. Is that they actually have underground underneath the university there at Tucson, where they make the mirrors for like the Hubble Space Telescope. I have a student of mine in Australia, his name is Muhammad Badda. His telescope he bought last year when I went to my trip to Australia. We went out to the Blue Mountains and we were looking at galaxies through his telescope. Because his mirror that he has in his telescope was made there in Tucson. It's very polished, very polished. So it's very good at collecting light. So you can go to Costco and get a $95 telescope and you might be able to see a fuzzy Mercury. Or you can work and put the effort and polish them and get a polished mirror that can see galaxies that are 2 billion or 2 million, or 5 million light years, or 50 million light years away. It's about what you're willing to spend in the mirror of your heart. And most of us, though, we're cheap. We take the easy, we just say, well, what I want to do, I want to take the hand of Sheikh so-and-so, and I'll make dua, he'll make shafa for me, and y'all will go to Jannah together. This is a cheap way out. You know, I could do this as a Muslim. I'm Naeem. I'm Gary Edwards. My driver's license is Gary Edwards. The Prophet ﷺ said there are 3 people who get double reward Yawm al-Qiyamah. Who are they? One is a man who is a slave girl. He educates her. He raises her up. He frees her and he marries her. One was a slave who runs away from his master but comes back, and he understands that he still has a responsibility. It's a strange one. And the third was a Christian or a Jew who becomes a Muslim. They get a double reward. Now I can sit back. Hey, I got double reward. That's foolish. That's foolish. Because this religion isn't about just sitting back because you did one good deed. Or you read a hadith and, oh, well, I must be like that. I did this thing, I get this many hasanat. I'm always amazed when in Mecca, or when you go to Mecca, Medina, everyone's walking around with their counters, clickers. Subhanallah, 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 click, click, subhanallah, click, subhanallah, click. In the right hand, click. 5,000 subhanallahs, mashallah. Click. 5,001, mashallah. Plus the mashallah, that's a good extra one. Click. And where's in the left hand? Oh, look at that beautiful woman over there. Click, click. Sayyat, hasanat, hasanat, sayyat, sayyat, good deed, bad deed, bad deed. Look at the positive clicker and the negative clicker. And you really never know at the end of the day whether you actually got 5,000, you actually made a deficit of minus 250. By what your eyes saw, your ear heard, or what thoughts crossed your heart. Realistically, the awliyaullah in this ummah, these people who are near to Allah, they are abdal, they are substitutes, as has been narrated in various narrations, but with the truth, some narrations are weak, but the truth is there that our awliyaullah, our warath anbiya, our inheritors of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as one of the scholars has said, وَرَثَ الرَّسُولُ هُوَ الَّذِي يَقْتَدِي بِأَفْعَالِهِ لَا الَّذِي يُسَوِّدُ وُجُوهَ أَوْرَاقِ. The inheritor of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the inheritor of the Rasul, the one who is his inheritor, who receives his inheritance, his miras, his mirath, is the one who follows him in his actions, not the one who blackens white pages with ink. Anyone can write about Muhammad ﷺ. Anyone can write books about Muhammad ﷺ. But not all of us are willing to do the works and the actions of Muhammad ﷺ. That's what the wali of Allah does. Because he draws himself in that emulation, in ittiba, in iqtida, in emulation and following, to mirror and mimic him. For the Naqshbandis, your Qadris and Naqshbandis and the Sufism we might mention, and of course I can't get into that, but they have a principle. Every group has its principles. Their technical terms. We have like Wukuf al-Qalbi, and for example, being mindful of your feet, like mindful of what you see, or Nazar Bal-Qadam, which is actually mentioned the feet, and watching the heart. Wukuf al-Qalbi. I got confused there for a second. And this idea of fana fi Rasul, you have this sort of self-effacement in the Prophet ﷺ. But the idea is this, that the awliyaullah are people who continually draw to efface themselves, to more and more mirror Muhammadan realities, to mirror Muhammadan qualities, to replace their own base qualities by clothing themselves in the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. And by doing so, their hearts become more and more mirror-like. So that these people can be in our community and they act as the minor prophets of Bani Israel. So Sayyidina Musa a.s. received the Torah. But between Musa alayhi salam and Dawood, there were minor prophets. They didn't receive scripture. They followed Moses. They were tabi'un of Musa alayhi salam. God still revealed to them knowledge, but they still followed the law, the Sharia of Musa alayhi salam. So they were under the foot of Musa alayhi salam, for example. And so the awliyaullah, those who are near to Allah in our ummah, those who follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that proximity of drawing close, they are the ones who represent for us the best thing we can have after the Sahaba and after the companions of the Sahaba, the Tabi'in, and the companions of the companions, the Tabi'un, I should say. Tabi'in, I should say, to make it grammatically correct. So we must be people who are, when I left America in 1991 to go to Medina, there was many reasons to go to Medina, just to make an umrah, just to have a ziyarah, Medina in a sense of Mecca, a ziyarah of the Prophet ﷺ, which in itself is a great virtue. But my intention wasn't initially those. My intention was knowledge and finding a wali of Allah to spend some time with. To find someone who I think, who inshallah will guide me, could be a person who would have those qualities that I have read about over my years of reading, that this person is perhaps one of these near ones to Allah. And I think I found one of those people. And I'm so grateful to Allah that I was able to sit with him for 10 years. It was a great time. And I learned a lot about myself. It was like, because when you start working on this mirror, if you start working on this mirror in your life, you'll see exactly what your mirror is like. And you start seeing what garbage you've placed on it. What you've thrown on yourself. And sometimes you throw, and it was easy for me to get off most of this Pam and this flour. But there are some things in our hearts that are so much on there that it takes years to get them away. If even then we get them away. This work never ends. But we're fortunate that Allah is so merciful towards us, that as the time gets further and further distant from Muhammad ﷺ in a lineal time, the era of time, so to say, as we get further from the start point of the Ummah with Muhammad ﷺ, Allah in His mercy compensates the Ummah. The demands are lessened, but the privilege of high position is still possible. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned to us of those people who will come near the end of the Ummah's term, before Yawm al-Qiyamah, where one of them will be worth 80 Sahaba. It doesn't mean intrinsically that they're better than any Sahabi, but their value will be so great at those times, it's as if they're worth 80 Sahaba, or 100 Sahaba. Those people who give life to the Sunnah when it's been killed, for example. Because giving life to a Sunnah is to give life to Muhammad ﷺ. And I mentioned these things in different lectures before. So, all of you now should take very seriously your life journey. Take very seriously the opportunity you've been given. That tomorrow, after this gathering tonight, you can be better than when you were to the moment right now. There's one more thing you can always add to your life. An extra namaz, an extra dhikr, an extra sunnah, an extra good deed. Maybe you don't know your neighbors very well, for example. Maybe you've got neighbors here, you don't know them very well. Maybe it's time you start getting to know them. I don't care if they're Muslim or not. They have rights upon you. And Jibreel came to Muhammad thinking, and he thought that Jibreel came mentioning the neighbors so much that he thought the neighbors would become inheritors. That's something we could do. Revive that sunnah of being good neighbors, for example. We all could do that. Visiting the poor. Here in Houston, how many of you in this room have gone downtown and worked with the homeless people, or the homeless shelters? Just get together. We'll get together at the masjid here, or this house here. We can just get together and make sandwiches, and we go and find the poor people. I've done this. Some of us in this room have done this. It's so easy for us. We have such comfort. Everyone in this room is comfortable. We don't know what it's like. And I know maybe some of you grew up in not always comfort. I grew up in America all my life, so I grew up in comfort. I never knew discomfort. I didn't grow up in a rich family, I would say we were a low-income white family. Yeah. But we always had the things. And I know some of you come from places, from maybe Pakistan or India where you came from, and maybe you grew up, you didn't have much, and now you're comfortable. But here, our prophetic mission, the awliyaullah, you are the awliyaullah on the base level. And there are people out there who need you. They need to see this mirrored Muhammadan things in their lives. They need to see the compassion of Muhammad from our own hands. I've been listening to some Christian radio recently, and I listen to these programs about people's testimonies, things they've been through. I've read some amazing ministry work of people. And though I don't believe in what they believe when it comes to the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hasha. But I see people who have conviction in what they believe, and they want to serve people. They want to do khidmah. Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, I don't believe he was expecting people after to write poetry about him, actually. He wanted people to be like him. Be like me. Fight your nafs, live simply, and serve humanity. Simple things. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. Because you'll never be satisfied, son of Adam, until the dirt in your grave fills your mouth. That wasn't even the teaching of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir, that was the teaching of his grandfather, Muhammad ﷺ. And Muhammad ﷺ never lied. Only truth came from those two blessed lips. Is that true? This is true. You are blessed people. And yet sometimes I don't think you people see yourself as blessed people. You just comfort by being Muslim in the way you are. Don't be comfortable with the way you are. I'm not comfortable any day the way I am. And I have many blessings in my life. But I'm never comfortable. And when I start feeling comfortable, I'm afraid. Because there's a lot of deception out there. And that's what Shaitan wants. The awliyaullah, they are the people who change the ummah. Not the Wahhabis, the Neo-Salafis. All those people who are out there with a slogan. Allah doesn't need us to raise placards and banners of proclamation. We have a lot of that. What He needs is the awliyaullah, that they realize that the khidmah, service to humanity, is service to Allah. It starts in our homes, our own children, and it's a struggle. It starts with our brothers and sisters in our own congregations. Are there people in this congregation, even in this room tonight? Is there someone sitting here who's your brother in Islam, but you have a problem with him? I've had some problems with some people, some brothers in the community, and I had to go and talk with them. I had to get it off my heart. I had to talk to them about it. Because I couldn't be honest with them if I didn't do that. Because I know this is the way of Muhammad ﷺ. It's always about change. About change. Never being satisfied. This is the way of the near ones to Allah. Because until the last breath of your body leaves your body, you have every opportunity to be the saint. To be the wali of Allah that you've read about. There are some who are awliyaullah and they don't even know it. And there are some, they don't know it, but people know that they are. And there are some that know that they are, but they're not proud. Because they know it's just where Allah has placed them. Because if you're a wali of Allah, then you understand divine qadr, divine decree, divine measure. And you know Allah has placed you in that place for a purpose. And you humbly submit to that. This is what we have to be. I love your gatherings. I wish I understood Sheikh Naimi here when he talks, because he's very excitable. And I don't know what he's saying though. But that's okay. I guess we gotta get him like a, I don't know, get some earphones and someone can translate. Okay? I don't have much to say. Honestly, I don't. Because the more I see myself, it's like it gets worse and worse. You have so much potential in this community. I love that you gather. I love your zeal for your love of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My advice to you, you must ratchet that up and how you express that. Ratchet it up. Take the challenge to be more than you can be right now. Take this so seriously. You are in a country where you can harvest so much beyond your salaries and your money. You have comfortable life. You have so much to offer Americans. And they're not getting it. And we're failing them. We're failing them. I fail them myself. I'll be honest about it. I asked Allah to guide me. I asked Him to change me. I need that. It troubles me. Always work needs to be done on this work to change ourselves. This is the way of the awliya. You read the biography of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani Quddasa Sirruhu and the things he went through to become the man you call Ghawth Azam. And understand why he is the great succor. The one through whom Allah gives succor. He gives the ghaneen, He gives out to people. You know the Mevlevis in Turkey, the symbolism is so important. Right hand to Jannah, left hand out, and he twirls. He makes the circumambulation, 360 degrees. You receive the barakah, the tajalliyat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you distribute it, you receive it, it passes through your heart becomes transformed, and you hand it out to humanity. This is how we have to be. We have to grow up to become this way. Is it easy? No. Is it hard work? Probably yes. Is there a lot of flour in the world? Yes. The Prophet ﷺ never ate stuff like this. You know that? He never ate flour like that. Sayyidina Aisha mentioned that one of the bid'ah, the innovations after him, was the companions eating fine white flour. We have so much. It makes not only metaphorically our hearts dirty, it makes our hearts fat. And then we get heart attacks from it. Yeah. Listen to that. The sound of rust on the heart. May Allah guide us that we set it aside. This is why I understand who the awliya are. That's why I went to Turkey and spent those 10 years there, to spend some time with a man who I could observe and say, I found this mirror and I saw things in that man's heart and I took from it. I don't know what I got. I'm still trying to figure it all out. It's a bit of a challenge. I hope I'm not talking too much. Forgive me. I think I may be. You know, forgive me. I don't know. I wasn't given a time span and you seem like you want me to... I think I'll be quiet. I'll put my props away. But I hope you understood the message. No, please, I mean, Allah forgive us for that. I mean, I wish I could share more things with you. I even wrote hadith down here. I didn't share one of them with you, but because I was talking about something else. But I'll read one to you. We can always get the barakah of a hadith, right? Let me read one. See, I wrote down here. I like this one. I like them all. That's why I wrote them down. Uzkurullah dhikran. He says, remember Allah in remembrance. Yaqul al-munafiqun. The munafiqun will say, Innakum tara'una. You do this to show off. You should do so much dhikr that people think you're a show off. People who are cold towards Allah and the ummah, who have disbelief in themselves, who have doubt within themselves, who have this slight hatred towards the deen, but outwardly they're Muslim. They'll see you in this really active Muslim, loving Allah, proclaiming Allah on your tongue, in your deeds, and they'll say, oh, he's just a show-off. Tura'un, he's showing off. Or yura'un, I should say. Or yura, I should say, actually, to be properly. He's showing off. It's good to proclaim your dhikr. But be mindful of showing off also when you do it. Let people know. And I was reading today one time, it was because I was always curious, you know, like why you all keep saying la ilaha illallah after the Fard prayer. So I was like, I haven't yet come across a dalil yet. So I was reading my book and I found a dalil for it. So I was like, okay, I'm happier now. And that's who I am. I need to settle it intellectually. I knew there was a dalil there somewhere, but I needed to find it. Came across it, like, wow, okay, I got it. One issue, because it was honestly, it was something in my heart. So I need to resolve it, so I can have clarity with my fellow community and what they do. Because that's the way it has to be. So we ask Allah to bless us through Muhammad ﷺ. We ask Allah to make us more like him. We ask Allah to forgive us of our sins by means of him. We ask Allah that he places in his companionship, that we drink from his hands, from the hawd, the pool, that we follow him to the door of Jannah, that we find him to be our jalis, the one of our companion in the garden. And may Allah protect us from those things that make us stumble, that make us lazy, and that distract us or deceive us. And may he give us the capacity to see these things in our lives and to confront them and to be honest about them. May he put love between us all. May he help us to learn to accept each other and each other's differences that are acceptable as differences. May those of you who he's given wealth, may he increase you in wealth, but things that are halal and things that you constantly give more to increase it for the sake of Allah. And those of you with whom your provision is lessened, maybe you don't have as much as someone else, may he give you contentment in that. Because if you're like Sayyidina Isa and you're able to put your head on a brick to sleep at night, you are Isawi. You are of Jesus. You are Jesus-like. And if you live in a large home, then you are Sulaimani. You are like Sulaiman alayhi salam. But remember, whichever position you are, Isawi or Sulaimani, you must fear Allah, acknowledge Allah, and know Allah. That's the only way you can make it. Some men, when they get wealthy, they lose their Islam. So they have to stay impoverished. For some men, the only way that they can keep their Islam is if they are wealthy. That's just the reality of things. So let us be content with the things Allah gives us. May Allah accept this dua for me tonight, for you and for myself, for my family, my children. May Allah guide my parents to Islam and my brother and my sister. I say yes, Ameen to that. Thank you. And to all of those of you who have siblings, parents who aren't Muslim, may Allah guide them to Islam. If you have siblings who are not Muslim, may Allah guide them to Islam. If you have relatives who are not Muslim, may Allah guide them to Islam. If you have family members who are cold towards Islam but they're Muslim, may Allah soften their hearts. May Allah use you to be a softener of hearts. May Allah put wisdom on your tongue, elegance and grace in your actions, beauty in your words, compassion in your glance. These are beautiful things. I want them for myself. I want them for you. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. Not one of you believes till he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. So Ibad, here's your stuff. Give it to your mom. Okay, there you go.
Alright, it was Sheikh Naeem who just delivered his speech, and I think it was a very well contained, balanced and advisable speech. May Allah give us tawfiq to follow the footsteps of Awliya Ikram like Hazrat Ghaus Azam Razi Allah Ta'ala anhu. he used daily examples. I think it's a psychological effect when you take daily examples from the daily things. It makes sense and it knocks at your heart. Second speaker tonight we have Allama Mukhtar Shah Naimi Sahab, and one thing I want to say before I call him for the speech. علامہ مختار احمد نعیمی ہماری زبان میں کرتے ہوئے انگریزی میں بھی تقریر ہیں، لیکن اردو زبان میں ہیوسٹن میں کم از کم میں نے اتنا عوام کی نفسیات سے، لوگوں کی نفسیات سے باقاعدہ بات کمیونیکیٹ کرنے والا خطیب نہیں دیکھا. جب وہ بھی ڈیلی ایگزامپلز آپ کی لائف سے ایگزامپلز لے کے تقریر کرتے ہیں، اور اللہ تعالیٰ نے بے پناہ علم سے نوازا ہے، اللہ تعالیٰ ان کا علم اور اس میں اضافہ فرمائے، تو مذہبی ایوانوں میں بڑا ہی معتبر نام. اور دوسری یہ بات کہ امت مسلمہ کے اتحاد کے لیے اگر کوئی شخصیت ہیوسٹن میں مجھے نظر آتی ہے تو وہ علامہ مختار نعیمی صاحب کی ہے. بلا تاخیر میں ان کو مائک دوں گا کیونکہ کافی پہلے ہی ایک اسپیکر جا چکے ہیں تو اس کے بعد ٹائم کم ہے. تو جناب مختار احمد شاہ نعیمی صاحب.
نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، یا رسول اللہ، نعرہ اخلاص، یا رسول اللہ.
نحمدہ و نصلی علی رسولہ الکریم. اما بعد فاعوذ باللہ السمیع العلیم العظیم الحفیظ بوجہ الکریم وسلطانہ القدیم من الرجس الخبیث المخبث الشیطان اللعین الرجیم وقبیلہ ونفخہ ونفسہ وہمزہ. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. فاذکرونی اذکرکم واشکروا لی ولا تکفرون. صدق اللہ مولانا العلی العظیم وبلغنا رسولہ النبی الکریم ونحن علی ذلک لمن الشاہدین والشاکرین والحمد للہ رب العالمین. ان اللہ وملائکتہ یصلون علی النبی یا ایھا الذین آمنوا صلوا علیہ وسلموا تسلیما. بواز بلند الشرف. ہمارے ہاں جب کوئی انگلش میں تقریر کرنے آتا ہے تو اعلان کیا جاتا ہے کہ یہ بچوں کے لیے لیکچر ہے، حالانکہ وہ بڑوں کو بھی سمجھ میں نہیں آ رہا ہوتا. تو جب بڑوں کو سمجھ میں نہیں آئے گا تو بچوں کو کہاں سے آئے گا؟ تو ہائی شیخ نعیم جو ہے، ہاں when kid is speaking then that lecture was for kids. When English, when scholar is speaking and delivering the lecture, and for not only for kids, the lecture for especially for elders. پھر وہ بڑوں کے لیے ہے، پھر بچوں کو کیا سمجھ آئے گی جو ابھی شیخ نعیم بول رہے تھے. تو یہ ہے کہ صرف انگلش کے لیے بلایا جاتا ہے کہ تاکہ بچے بھی جو ہیں وہ دھیان دے لیں. اللہ سے دعا کرو کہ، اور میرا جو لیکچر ہے وہ بڑوں کے لیے کہاں سب کے لیے ہے. تو دعا فرمائیں کہ ہماری کوشش یہ ہوتی ہے کہ ہر زبان کا آدمی کسی نہ کسی طرح سے اسے جو ہے وہ توجہ دے لے. دعا کرو کہ اللہ ہماری اس کوشش کو اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول فرمائے. تھوڑی سی بات کروں گا، لمبا چوڑا سلسلہ نہیں ہے. مہربانی آدم بھائی کی اور ان کا احسان مجھ پہ کہ انہوں نے مجھے دعوت دی اور ایسی بابرکت جگہ کے اوپر. اللہ تعالیٰ مجھے مبارک کا صدقہ، گوشت پاک کے مجھے مبارک کا صدقہ ہم سب کی حاضری اپنی بارگاہ میں قبول فرمائے. میں نے جو آیت پڑھی ہے وہ بہت مشہور ہے، دوسرے پارہ میں ہے، سب جانتے ہیں. اللہ فرماتا ہے کہ تم مجھے یاد رکھو. فاذکرونی، تم مجھے یاد رکھو، یاد کرو نہیں، تم مجھے یاد رکھو تو میں اذکرکم، میں تمہیں یاد رکھوں. اگر تم لوگ جو وہ میرا ذکر نہیں کرتے تو پھر یہ چھوڑ دو کہ پھر تمہارا چرچا ہرگز نہیں ہو سکتا. تو اگر آپ لوگ یہاں آدم جی کے گھر میں بیٹھ کے ذکر کریں گے اللہ کا تو اللہ تعالیٰ آپ کا ذکر کرے. اس کی بڑی ڈیٹیل ہے، اس کی تفصیل ہے، مثالیں ہیں. بڑی سادہ سا سمپل سا یہ بات ہے کہ اگر آپ اپنی زندگی کے اندر اللہ تعالیٰ کا نام جپتے رہیں گے تو اللہ فرماتا ہے کہ میں تیرا زمین اور آسمان پہ چرچا کر دوں گا. اب آپ دیکھ لیجئے جتنے بھی اولیاء کرام ہیں 700-800 سال کم از کم ان کو گزر گئے ہیں، لیکن آج بھی، اب آدم کے گھر میں کچھ اور بھی ہو سکتا تھا، لیکن آج دیکھ لیجئے کہاں عبد القادر جیلانی 400 میں اور آپ دیکھ لو یہ 1334 جا رہا ہے. اب آپ اندازہ لگائیے کہ 400 کہاں اور 1334 کہاں، لیکن آج بھی ان کی یاد، ان کا ذکر جو ہے وہ برقرار ہے. بات اب یہ سنیے کہ اکثر یہ ہوتا ہے کہ ہم لوگ اولیاء کا ذکر کرتے ہیں اور ہمیں باہر سے کوئی بندہ ضرور پوچھے گا یہ تم لوگ عبد القادر جیلانی رحمہ اللہ کا ذکر کر رہے تھے، کہاں لکھا ہوا ہے؟ تم لوگ فلاں کا ذکر کر رہے تھے، کہاں لکھا ہوا ہے؟ اب صرف آپ نے یہ آج یاد رکھنی ہے اور 2 مثالیں کچھ دے کہ میں اجازت چاہتا ہوں بڑی جلدی کے ساتھ. فاذکرونی، اللہ فرماتا ہے کہ تم مجھے یاد رکھو، میرا ذکر کرو، میرا چرچا کرو. اذکرکم، میں تمہارا چرچا کروں گا، میں تمہیں یاد رکھوں گا. اب آپ جب زمین پر ذکر کر رہے ہوں گے تو اللہ تعالیٰ آپ کا ذکر کرے گا کہ نہیں؟ محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے فرمایا، یہ حدیث مبارکہ ہے، کہ جب کوئی آدمی اللہ تعالیٰ کو تنہائی میں یاد کرتا ہے تو اللہ تعالیٰ فرشتوں کی موجودگی میں نہیں ویسے اس کا ذکر کرتا ہے، اور جب بندوں میں بیٹھ کر اللہ کا کوئی ذکر کرتا ہے تو اللہ فرشتوں کے اندر اس کا ذکر کرتا ہے۔ اب جب میں ذکر کر رہا ہوں تو میرا ذکر اللہ فرشتوں میں کر رہا ہے، آدم صاحب ذکر کر رہے ہیں تو ان کا ذکر اللہ فرشتوں میں کر رہا ہے، شاہد صاحب ذکر کر رہے ہیں تو اللہ تعالیٰ ان کا ذکر فرشتوں میں کر رہا ہے، نئی نیزی ذکر کر رہا ہے تو اللہ تعالیٰ فرشتوں میں ذکر کر رہا ہے۔ تو آپ لوگ 1334 میں ہو، ہماری اوقات کیا، ہم لوگ تو شاید صحیح سے مسلمان بھی نہ ہو، مومن سپرلیٹو ڈگری ہے، صحیح سے مسلمان بھی نہ ہو، لیکن حضور نے کہا جب تم اللہ کا ذکر کرو گے اللہ فرشتوں میں تمہارا ذکر کرے گا۔ اب مجھے اتنا بتا دینا کہ جب تم ذکر کرو تو اللہ تو تمہارا ذکر کرے، تو جب عبد القادر جیلانی اللہ کا ذکر کر رہے ہوں گے تو کیا اللہ ان کا ذکر کر رہا ہوگا کہ نہیں؟ تو اس آیت کے مطابق جب عبد القادر جیلانی 12 سال تک چلا کاٹ کے اللہ کا ذکر کر رہے ہیں تو 12 سال تک تم لوگ تو 11ویں ایک رات مناتے ہو، تم لوگ تو غوث پاک کا ذکر ایک دن کرتے ہو، ایک دن میں بھی 24 گھنٹے نہیں کرتے، 24 گھنٹوں میں سے بھی تم 1 گھنٹہ 2 گھنٹے حد 3 گھنٹے لوگے۔ عبد القادر جیلانی رحمت اللہ علیہ کا ذکر پروردگار عالم فرشتوں کی موجودگی میں، اس کے بعد جبرائیل علیہ السلام، اس کے بعد سارے فرشتے، پھر زمین کے فرشتے، پھر زمین کے لوگ، اور آج سینکڑوں سال گزرنے کے بعد ان کا ذکر موجود ہے۔ یہ اس بات کی دال ہے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ نے ان کا ذکر آسمانوں پہ کیا۔ تو جب اللہ تعالیٰ 11ویں والے کا ذکر کر رہا ہے تو پھر تم لوگوں کو 11ویں والے کا ذکر کرنے میں کیا پرابلم ہے؟ یہ چیز سکھایا کرو ان لوگوں کو جو تمہیں کہتے ہیں۔ اب اکثر آپ لوگوں کو بولیں گے آؤ یار آج آدم جی کے گھر میں عبد القادر جیلانی رحمت اللہ کا ذکر ہے، چھوڑو یار چھوڑو، یہ تو بدعت ہے، حرام ہے۔ پوچھو یار تو قرآن کا انکار کر رہا ہے۔ وہ اللہ کے بندے، تو نے صرف ایک ضد کی بنا پر، ایک تعصب کی بنا پر قرآن کی آیات کا انکار کر دیا، تو نے حدیث کا انکار کر دیا۔ رب کہہ رہا ہے کہ تم میرا ذکر کرو میں تمہارا ذکر کروں گا۔ اب بتاؤ عبد القادر جیلانی رحمہ اللہ نے اللہ کا ذکر کیا کہ نہیں کیا؟ جو منکر ہے حضور کی عبد القادر جیلانی رحمت اللہ کی 11ویں کا وہ بتائے کہ عبد القادر جیلانی رحمت اللہ علیہ نے ذکر کیا کہ نہیں کیا؟ جتنا انہوں نے ذکر کیا کسی نے کیا ہی نہیں، کیونکہ ولی بنتا ہی تب ہے کہ جب فرائض چھوڑ کر رب کی عبادت نوافل پڑھے، پڑھتا پڑھتا وہ رب تعالیٰ کا محبوب بن جاتا ہے۔ تو عبد القادر جیلانی رحمت اللہ علیہ ان کا ذکر اللہ تعالیٰ نے فرشتوں کے اندر کیا، ورنہ اس آیت کو آپ لوگ جھٹلا دیجئے، کہیے کہ یہ آیت ٹوٹلی قرآن میں ہے ہی نہیں۔ تو جب قرآن میں ہے تو جب اللہ تعالیٰ فرشتوں میں ذکر کر رہا ہے تو آپ لوگ ذکر کیوں نہیں کرتے؟ محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے ولیوں کا ذکر کیا، ہم لوگ ذکر نہیں کرتے۔ حضور پاک صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں اور کن ولیوں کا ذکر کر رہے ہیں؟ وہ ولی کہ جو ان کا کلمہ پڑھنے والے نہیں ہیں، وہ ولی کہ جو بنی اسرائیل کے ہیں۔ بنی اسرائیل مینز کہ جو یعقوب علیہ السلام کی اولاد میں سے ہیں۔ بنی اسرائیل مینز جو موسیٰ علیہ السلام کا کلمہ پڑھنے والے ہیں۔ بنی اسرائیل جو سلیمان علیہ السلام کا کلمہ پڑھنے والے ہیں۔ خود عیسیٰ علیہ السلام بنی اسرائیل میں، عیسیٰ علیہ السلام یہودی تھے، عیسیٰ علیہ السلام یہودی تھے، یہ یہودیوں میں آئے ہیں نبی۔ تو یہ سارے انبیاء بنی اسرائیل ہیں۔ تو محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم مسلم شریف میں ہے کہ آپ بیٹھ کر ایک بندے کا ذکر کر رہے ہیں کہ جس بندے سے سب سے بڑا جرم ہوا وہ ہے قتل، قتل سے بڑھ کے جرم نہیں ہے۔ حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم فرماتے ہیں اور اللہ تعالیٰ نے ان سے یہ کہا قرآن میں یہ ہے کہ جو ایک آدمی کو ناحق قتل کرتا ہے گویا کہ وہ پوری انسانیت کو قتل کر دیتا ہے، اور جو آدمی ایک بندے کی جان بچاتا ہے گویا کہ وہ ساری انسانیت کی جان بچاتا ہے۔ ہمارے اسلام کے اندر انسان کی جان بڑی قیمتی ہے، اور یہ نہیں دیکھا جاتا وہ مسلمان ہے کہ غیر مسلم ہے۔ میں آپ کو ایک مسئلہ بتا دوں، آپ نماز پڑھ رہے ہیں اور نماز آپ پڑھ رہے ہیں ایک نہر کے کنارے کے اوپر، ایک ادھر سے نبینا آ گیا، اب آپ کو پتا ہے کہ یہ نبینا نہر میں گر جائے گا، تو معلوم ہے آپ کو آرڈر کیا ہے؟ نماز توڑ کر اس نبینے کی جان بچاؤ۔ تم نماز نہیں پڑھ سکتے، تمہیں نماز توڑنی ہے اور جا کر اس نبینے کی جان بچانی ہے، ورنہ وہ نہر میں گر کے مر جائے گا۔ یہ ہے ہمارا اسلام۔ تو کیا آپ نماز کے اندر پہلے پوچھو گے اور نبینے تو مسلمان ہے کہ ہندو ہے، اور تو کون ہے؟ اگر آپ ہندوستان میں نماز پڑھ رہے ہو تو اسے پوچھو گے ہاں اگر تم مسلمان ہے پھر نماز توڑتا ہوں، نہیں ہے تو پھر تم مر جا۔ نہیں، تمہیں نماز توڑنی ہے، تم نے جا کے اس نبینے کی جان بچانی ہے، پھر اس کے بعد تم نے اپنی نماز کو شروع کرنا ہے۔ تو ہمارے اسلام کے اندر انسانی جان انتہائی قیمتی ہوتی ہے، تو وہ تم اپنی نماز چھوڑو گے، اس کی جان کو بچاؤ گے، پھر اس کے بعد تم اپنی نماز کو مکمل کرو گے۔ تو اس شخص نے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم جس کی بات کر رہے ہیں مسلم شریف میں یہ کسی دوسری کتاب میں بھی نہیں ہے کہ آدمی انکار کر دے، اس آدمی نے 100 قتل کیے ہیں، اور محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صحابہ کے اندر بیٹھ کے اس کا تذکرہ کر رہے ہیں کہ اس آدمی نے 100 قتل کیے ہیں۔ 100 قتل کرنے کے بعد پھر وہ ولیوں کی طرف جا رہا ہے، خود وہ ولی ہے ہی نہیں، خود وہ ولی ابھی بنا نہیں ہے، وہ ولیوں کے پاس جا رہا ہے جو ہر وقت اللہ کا ذکر کرتے رہتے ہیں، وہاں جا رہا ہے، رستے میں اس کی موت آ گئی، رستے میں اس کی موت آئی، اب فرشتے آگے، فرشتوں کو تو آنا ہی آنا ہے، فرشتے آئے، جو دوزخ کے لے جانے والے ہیں وہ کہنے لگے بھائی ہم لے کر جائیں گے، جو جنت کی طرف لے جانے والے ہیں وہ بولے ہم لے کر جائیں گے. طویل حدیث ہے، آپ لوگوں نے سنی ہوگی، لیکن مجھے صرف اتنا بتانا ہے کہ دیکھو محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صحابہ کے اندر بیٹھ کر ایک آدمی کا ذکر کر رہے ہیں کہ جو ولیوں کی طرف جا رہا تھا، تو پتا چلا کہ ولیوں کا ذکر، ولیوں کی جگہ کا ذکر محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صحابہ میں کر رہے ہیں. تو جب صحابہ کی موجودگی میں محمد مصطفیٰ ولیوں کا ذکر کرتے ہیں، تعجب کی بات ہے یار، تم 1334 میں اور امریکہ میں رہ کے کہتے ہو ہم نے عبد القادر جیلانی کا ذکر نہیں کرنا، بدعت ہے. جب قرآن میں ذکر ہے، جب حدیث میں ذکر ہے، تو پھر آپ لوگوں کو ذکر کرنے سے کیا پرابلم ہے؟ عبد القادر جیلانی رحمۃ اللہ علیہ جن کا آج جناب بنا رہے ہو، اللہ تعالیٰ نے اتنی طاقت عطا فرمائی. اور ایک بات یاد رکھیے، جیسے شیخ کہہ رہے تھے، جب تم فنا فی رسول ہو جاتے ہو، جب تم سرکار کی ذات میں گم ہو جاتے ہو، تمہاری باڈی 4 چیزوں سے بنی ہے. ویسے تو اس کے اندر 99 کے زیادہ ہیں، لیکن 4 میجر ہیں، آگ ہے، پانی ہے، ہوا ہے، مٹی ہے، یہ 4 چیزیں آپ. تو جب آپ ان 4 کو لگا دیتے ہیں اللہ کی طرف، یعنی اللہ کی اطاعت کرنے لگ جاتے ہیں، تو پھر ان 4 کے اوپر آپ کا حکم چلنے لگ جاتا ہے. پھر یہ 4 میں سے کوئی کہیں کچھ آپ کا بگاڑ نہیں سکتی. آپ ہوا کو آرڈر دیں، سلیمان علیہ السلام کو دیکھ لیجئے، ہوا آپ کو اڑا کے لے جاتی ہے. آپ آگ میں ہاتھ ڈال دیں، آگ آپ کا ہاتھ جلا نہیں سکتی. آپ پانی کے اندر چلے جائیں، پانی پہ سوکھے گزر جائیں گے، پانی آپ کا کچھ بگاڑ نہیں سکے گا. تو کیچڑ میں چل رہے ہیں، جیسے داتا صاحب کے پیر و مرشد، کیچڑ آپ کے پاؤں کو نہیں لگ رہا. تو جب آپ اس کو گزار دیتے ہیں تو پھر کیا ہوتا ہے؟ پھر ہر شے آپ کا آرڈر ماننے لگ جاتی ہے. شیخ جو ہیں یہ نقشبندی ہیں، شیخ نعیم جو ہیں ابھی حال ہی میں گئے ہوئے تھے انڈیا. نقشبندیوں کے جو امام ہیں وہ بہاؤالدین نقشبند رحمۃ اللہ علیہ. آپ جب حج کرنے کے لیے گئے، اگر کبھی آپ کا جانا ہو ازبکستان میں تو ضرور جائیے گا. وہاں ان کا مزار، اور مزار میں ایک درخت ہے وہاں، اس کو کہتے ہیں واکنگ ٹری. وہ سارے لوگ جو ہیں اس واکنگ ٹری کے نیچے سے گزرتے ہیں، کچھ اس کے ساتھ کھڑے ہوتے ہیں، کچھ اس کو چومتے ہیں، کچھ اس کے ساتھ جا کے دھاگے باندھتے ہیں. اس کو واکنگ ٹری کہتے ہیں. وہ واکنگ ٹری تھا کیا؟ بہاؤالدین نقشبند رحمۃ اللہ جب حج کرنے کے لیے گئے تو وہاں حضرت خضر علیہ السلام نے ان کو ایک چھڑی دی، کہا یہ لیجیے چھڑی اور آپ کے کام آئے گی. آپ حج سے واپس آئے تو واپس آ کر آپ نے وہ چھڑی گاڑ دی. جو ہی چھڑی گاڑی تو جو سوٹی ہوتی ہے نا، سٹک جو ہوتی ہے، نہ نیچے ہوتا ہے نہ اوپر کچھ ہوتا ہے، آپ نے یوں گاڑی، گاڑنا تھا کہ خدا تعالیٰ نے اس چھڑی کو ہرا کر دیا، وہ ہری ہو گئی. اور آپ ساری زندگی جب تک بہاؤالدین نقشبند بیٹھے رہے وہ ایک درخت بن گیا تھا، آپ اس کے نیچے بیٹھ کر ذکر کرتے تھے. اور ذرا محبت دیکھیے، جس دن بہاؤالدین نقشبند رحمۃ اللہ کا وصال ہوا اسی دن وہ درخت جڑ سے اکھڑا، نیچے گر گیا اور گر کے آپ کے پیچھے پیچھے چلنے لگا. اور آپ نے پھر آرڈر فرمایا پہلے کہ رکو، وہ رک گیا. اب وہ بالکل اسی طرح لیٹا ہوا ہے اور بہت تناور بن گیا. وہ سٹک تھی، بہت بڑا ہے. جتنے بھی نقش بندی جاتے ہیں اس درخت کے نیچے جا کے دعا مانگتے ہیں اور اللہ تعالیٰ دعا کو جو ہے وہ قبول فرما لیتا ہے. تو یہ ولی کامل جب بندہ بن جائے پھر ہر چیز اس کو آرڈر ماننے لگ جاتی ہے. آپ آرڈر دو. بہاؤالدین نقشبند اسی سلسلے کے ہیں. امیر کلال کہتے ہیں، یہ جو برتن بنانے والے ہیں، تھے وہ سید لیکن اپنے ساتھ لکھتے تھے کلال. ان لوگوں کو ان سے کوئی نہیں ہوتا تھا کہ ہم کام کیا کرتے ہیں، آج کل ہمیں تو بڑی ہوتی ہے یار یہ کریں گے تو بے عزتی ہوگی. کلال کا معنی ہوتا ہے برتن بنانے والا، اس کو گمہار کہتے ہیں. تو آپ اپنے نام کے ساتھ لکھتے ہی کلال تھے. تو یہ کلال کا معنی، وہ بیٹھے ہوئے ہی ہوں اور ان کا کام کیا تھا؟ وہ برتن بناتے تھے. تو برتن جب بنتے ہیں نا تو برتن بنانے کے بعد اس کے اوپر پھول بناتے ہیں تاکہ لوگ برتن لیں، خریدیں، انہیں گھر میں رکھیں. اور ایک دن کیا ہوا، یوں کھڑے ہیں ولی کامل اور بزرگ بہاؤالدین نقشبند یوں جلوہ فرما ہیں. وہ امیر کلال جو ہیں یوں بنانے لگتے ہیں اس کے اوپر بوٹے، تو اوپر لکھا جاتا ہے اللہ. یہ شاید ہو سکتا ہے کہ ہاتھ جو ہے وہ اس نام پہ چل گیا ہے. پھر دوبارہ بنانے لگتے ہیں تو پھر اس کے اوپر لکھا جاتا ہے اللہ. ایک برتن چھوڑا، دوسرا اٹھا لیا، دوسرا اٹھا کے لکھنے لگے تو بنانے لگے پھول، تو اوپر لکھا جائے اللہ. چکر کیا ہے، آج تک ایسا ہوا